Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you one of the largest transformations I've ever done. I'm going to be taking my friend's black hair that's been colored for a few years now, and she hasn't colored her hair in about 6 months or so, and we're going to attempt to remove it and start the transformation into blonde. So stay tuned and check it out.
Hey everyone, it's Mirella. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. This is just a friendly reminder that these educational videos are intended for licensed professionals only. If you are a client or consumer, please use these videos as inspiration and see a licensed professional for all your hair needs. All techniques, formulas, products, and suggestions come with over 20 years of professional experience and education. I do not recommend trying any of these techniques on yourself or on anyone unless you are a licensed professional stylist or a student looking to expand your knowledge. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for more inspiration, formulas, tips, videos, and more. Now let's get right into this video. Before I start any major color correction makeover, I always do a strand test. So that's what exactly you're seeing here on my friend's hair. So for her strand test, I mixed up Matrix Lightmaster 1:2 with 20 volume and processed room temperature for only 10 minutes. And this is telling me literally the full story. Her strand test accurately tells me what her hair is willing to do. And I was able to give her a quote, timing, and expectation of worst and best outcome. But with all color corrections, there's always going to be challenges. So there needs to be lots of variables and lots of transparency when you are giving a consultation to any of your clients. All right, so here's her hair history. She's had lots of black box hair dye and some professional salon dye as well. And she hasn't colored her hair in about 6 months. And you can really tell this from the strand test because on the new growth, it's much lighter versus those mids and ends, which show a lot more of the orange and red tones. Her hair is also really dense, really coarse, and curly. So I know that I'm going to have to tackle her hair a little bit more aggressively on those ends, specifically because she has a lot of those orange and red tones and because of the dense coarseness. So using foil to get the best lightening possible for her hair is going to be key. I also know that she has a superior home regimen, so she's going to be giving her hair lots of TLC, which she already has. She's been prepping her hair for a major service like this, so I know she's done everything she needed to do possible at home prior to the service, and she's going to continue to take care of her hair at home for her blonde hair journey. All right, so here's the game plan. I'm going to go in with an indirect dye color remover to help eliminate any of the indirect dyes that are in her hair without it affecting her virgin hair. So I'm not worried about the indirect dye color remover lifting her virgin hair. After we hopefully are successful with one shot of removing most of the black hair dye, I'm going to go in with some Babylights and teasy lights and a lot of them to get her hair as light as possible. And then I'm also going to make sure to do a lot of treatments in between each of the services so that way we can keep her hair's integrity as best as possible throughout this entire process. And then finally, we're going to finish her up with a toner once I see how much lift we can get with her hair, and then finish her up with a haircut. Now for my client's first step, I decided to go in with Rust Eliminate Color Corrector. Now the way it works is that it's going to remove any permanent oxidative hair color, so basically your indirect dyes, and since it doesn't have ammonia, peroxide, bleach, or even formaldehyde, it's not going to affect the virgin hair. The way I applied the Rust Eliminate Color Corrector is simply combined step 1 and step 2 into an applicator bottle and made sure to just shake it up really good so that way it was nice and creamy consistency. And then I just simply started in the back sections and worked my way up. Now, since she didn't have any color in her root areas per se, I did apply the color corrector about an inch away or so from her regrowth. And then once I thoroughly saturated the product, to make sure that it was evenly distributed, I further went in with a comb and just ran the comb through each section. This product's actually really easy to apply and the viscosity is amazing, so that's kind of the reason why I love it too. But I went in the first time onto dry hair And then from there, I just popped her under the dryer for about 20 minutes. Now you can use this product with or without heat, it's totally up to you, but because I was dealing with black hair dye, I decided that the dryer and heat was necessary. Once she was done processing under the dryer for 20 minutes, I rinsed her hair really, really well and then used a clarifying shampoo. Now, this is a really critical step, so you want to make sure that you use step 3 from Eliminate Color Corrector. So step 3 is essentially like using a developer such as 10 volume developer, and you want to process this product for 10 minutes to activate any remaining color molecules left in the hair. So basically, if the hair darkens right before your eyes, you need to repeat steps 1 and 2 and 3 all over again. So that basically means that there's still oxidative color, there's still indirect dyes in the hair, and if it darkens, you're going to be left with still a dark color. Now, if the hair doesn't darken, you're just going to continue to rinse it out and then shampoo one last time, and then you can proceed how you normally would with any color service. Now, sometimes working with black hair dye, it can be a little difficult to see if the product even did anything. So what you see here is I have 100% dried my model's hair, and I took her outside just to get a little bit of a further look, and you can definitely see that it has lightened up a little bit, and we have more of a slightly brown light reflection, definitely some level 2 there, and still lots of work to do. Now I have a much better canvas to start with versus when she first came in. So even though the Rust color corrector only eliminated maybe a level or 2 off of her hair, that's still a level or 2 that I don't have to have my product or lightener eat through, which is great. So I decided to work my way again in the back and then work right on up, starting with her hairline. So she has a mixture of Babylights and slices and teasy lights, so lots of different types of techniques. I want this to look as natural as possible and then also highlight as much of her hair as possible. Now you can also see she has lots and lots of hair, tons of density, and it's thick and coarse like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So using foil is imperative. If I were to go in and do an open air application, I'm probably only going to get a level or 2 of lift with her hair type. So the foil is essential to make sure that she's going to get the best blonding effect for this first session. One key thing to note here is that my Babylights and slices and even my teasy lights are literally micro slices and micro Babylights and micro teasy lights. So I wanted to take the thinnest sections possible when doing her application. So I had a better saturation of my lightener, and I'm gonna make the lightener do, again, the best job that it can possibly do, the best lightening I can possibly do. So the thinner the sections, especially with this hair type, the better lift you're gonna get. Now, as far as how I applied the lightener to her hair, you can see that I'm giving her a little bit of a rooty effect. So I'm really applying that lightener a few inches away from that regrowth area, and I'm also using a board. So the board was kind of key in this application. I typically don't use boards with foiling, but I felt the need to use a board for her hair because, again, it's really thick and coarse and lots of density. So I wanted to make sure I had a background to really help push that product into the hair. And the board really helped me, especially too with her length that she had. So I went through and applied the lightener just, again, a few inches away from that regrowth area and pressed my product into her hair. And then finally stroking up the product towards the regrowth, so that way I had more of a rooty effect without having to go through and actually shadow root her. So I really wanted to help avoid that, since she was totally wanting to have a little bit of that rootiness look and not so much of that blonding growing out of her hairline. So this was a perfect technique for that. And that's kind of why also that I have these really thin sections of Babylights, slices, and then once I get towards the top, you'll see that I have incorporated the teasy lights as well. So it was a combination of those 3 types of foiling techniques and lightener application that was essential to get her as light as possible and also with the finish that she wanted. Now, right after this foil, I'm going to go ahead and speed things up because I figure you guys kind of get the idea. So you're probably wondering what her formula is. So I used Matrix Lightmaster, and what I mixed up was 2 different formulas. So I mixed up a 30 volume and a 20 volume. So the 20 volume I used more towards the top of her foil, and then the 30 vol for those mids and ends, because again, when we saw what happened right after the rust color corrector, she still had some pretty dark ends, as well as the strand test kind of told us that as well. So I wanted to use a little bit higher of a developer to help aid in that lift that I needed. Now, as far as her foil application, you can see I've just taken her hair and split it right down the center and the back, and I'm kind of working at a slight diagonal. I'm just really trying to focus on getting as much coverage in the back as possible. So there's really no pattern per se, but I really just want to get in as many foils as possible. So if your client has more of a wider area to work with, then by all means, split that back section up into 3 columns. But for me, on my model, I was able to just split it into 2, especially with her wanting more of that Rudy effect. I was able to do that. Now, what you'll also notice is that as I'm working more towards, the center and working my way towards top, her hair is getting longer and longer. So I did use some Framar foils, but not the pre-cut ones. It comes in a roll, and so that really helped me in making this whole process a lot more quicker. So I was able to pre-cut these really long foils, and also using the board, it just kind of all ran as smoothly as possible. Even though this was a total of 10 hours of a project to work with, I can only imagine if I was sitting there with pre-cut foils, how much longer it would have taken me. Now what you see here is I'm working more towards the crown area, which my direction of my foil placement has changed into more a horizontal versus diagonal sections. And I'm also finishing it up with some teasy lights, which is going to give me an even further Rudy effect, much more so than what I was creating on the underside. So I'm just going to finish up this top section with my horizontal teasy lights and baby lights, and then I'm going to work towards the front, doing the same exact thing that I did in the back. Now, I just wanted to give you a quick sneak peek to the front. Now, on the sides, you can see they are all diagonal back foil placement, still with the same baby lights and micro slices and teasy lights towards the top. And what you can see here on the very front top section, it's more of a triangular piece that I left for last. And I started out with some baby lights towards the hairline and then worked my way on back with some teasy lights. The end result here is that I want to create a much more Rudy effect, so it gives her a little bit less maintenance. So even though she wants to be blonde eventually, we still want to incorporate her natural hair color so she doesn't have to come into the salon all of the time. So this is really a great way to give her that Rudiness and give her that less maintenance, but still give her that blonde that she's really wanting. Now, once the foils were done processing, now I'm just going to wait and let her foils process. Now, this was definitely took over a course of time throughout the day, so I had already removed some of the foils in the back, so now I'm just waiting for the front ones to process, and this is just literally a waiting game and watching the foils. And when I see that I've pushed her hair to as far as possible that it can go, which is typically max, I will leave lightener in the hair anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the integrity of the hair, of course. So she has pretty healthy hair, so I was able to push it pretty far. I'm going to now go ahead and let it process, and then I will show you the mid result that we got. So what you see here is her hair didn't quite lift as light as we wanted to on those ends. So you see it fade right from that level 9 right into a level 7, 8 orange, because that black box dye just would not budge. So now that I'm in this situation where the ends are a little darker than the top, I need to formulate a little differently this go round. So what I'm going to use is the darkest level that we lifted to, which is a level 7. So this is going to give me the maximum control, and it's going to give me a very seamless looking color, because if I go in with a lighter toner, we're going to end up with some really warm ends still, and it's going to look exactly like this going from light into a dark shade, and that's not what we want. We want it to look as even as possible. So therefore, I'm going to go in with Matrix Color Sync 7N and 7 Ash, so equal parts, and I'm going to blend that right into straight 7 Ash. So the 7 Ash is going to help control a lot of those orange tones that you see on the ends. So the reason why I picked a 7N with the 7A for the top is so that way I'm still incorporating some of those primary colors, and still that natural warmth that we see in natural hair, still with a little bit of ash for some control. So I don't quite need that on the ends because we have plenty of warmth to work with, but I just wanted to explain that, so just in case you wanted to know why I incorporated the N instead of just using straight 7A across the board. I just think that it would definitely look too ashy on that top portion and then give me that controlled finish on the ends. So therefore, that's why I'm adding in the end shade. Now you'll notice that I'm putting on the demi-permanent shade onto dry hair. The reason I am applying onto dry hair is so that way I get maximum saturation and maximum control and maximum deposit of my final shade. You can totally apply demi-permanent onto damp hair, but in this scenario, I did dry her hair 100% dry, so that way, again, I can get that maximum control because I'm gonna definitely need it, especially on those ends.
My client had to jet off in a hurry, but as you can see, we took her from a black boxed hair dye to a really pretty brunette shade, and it was a 1.5 day process, so you guys have to trust the process, and it was a lot of steps involved and a lot of patience, and we were really aiming to get her as blonde as possible today, which, you know, we got her to a level 7, so going from a level 1 to a 7 in one step actually wasn't too bad, but we're looking forward to her hair journey and getting her gradually lighter in the safest way possible, and I'm really happy with the results because we had basically kept her integrity of her hair. It's in really great condition, and it's a really nice, beautiful, natural looking shade. So great foundation shade to start with, and I can't wait to continue blonding her. So I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'm gonna give you all of the rest of the formula details down below. Ask me any questions you'd like, and hope to see you guys next time.